Our program is meant to be at an hour long tonight, not to keep you guys too late. So welcome and thanks for joining us at our first Johns Hopkins Residency Program virtual open house. I'm Annie Grossberg, and I'm the program director here at Johns Hopkins of our dermatology department. And I also want to introduce you to our assistant program director, Dr. Cassidy. Do you want to say hello in a few words?
Hi, I'm Megan Cassidy. I'm joining Dr. Grossberg this year as assistant program director. So thank you all for coming. And in the interest of time, let's keep it going. So we have our chiefs who are going to keep us on time and lead the way. So I'll hand it off to Dr. Perng.
Okay, I'll say before we hand off to Dr. Perng, I just want to mention one more thing, which is that the program tonight is meant to be informational. So we know that just to give some context during these trying times during the pandemic, that the application process is going to look a little bit different. Many of you who may have hoped to check out different programs on away electives have obviously not likely been able to have those opportunities. So our goal tonight is to give you just a little taste of our program so that as you are looking at your list of programs to apply to, you can feel more informed about what we have to offer here at Hopkins and whether this might be a good fit for you and your career and personal goals. So I want to thank all the faculty and residents who have volunteered to join us tonight for the program, who I'll be introducing to you in just a few moments. We will save some time at the end, a lot of time for general Q&A. Thanks to those who did take the time to submit some questions in advance. You can also submit through that Q&A function on the bottom. I'm sure you guys are probably more Zoom savvy than I am, but it's down there at the bottom, that Q&A. There were a lot of submitted questions. We'll try our best to get to all of them. In some cases, there were trends and we tried to kind of group or bundle them. But there were a handful of questions that were submitted that were a little bit more individualized questions about one's application. And so these are probably questions that are best discussed privately in a different forum. So we're going to try to prioritize those that are more broadly applicable to the full group. So if you have additional questions after the event, I am going to post my email address at the end, and please feel free to reach out to me if we don't get to something that you had hoped to cover. Okay, so without further ado, now I'd like to hand off Dr. Perng, one of our esteemed chief residents, is managing the PowerPoint, and we're going to move on to the first section of our program tonight. So we are fortunate. Can we go to the next slide? Okay. Oh yeah, welcome. That was that. So the research panel. We are very fortunate tonight to have Dr. Luis Garza, who serves as the Vice Chair for Research at in our department, as well as Dr. Crystal Agu, who is the head of our Ethnic Skin Program and Skin Color Research. So I'd like to hand off to Dr. Garza and Dr. Agu.
Thanks. Yeah, maybe I'll give you a quick intro to myself. Yeah, my name is Luis Garza. I'm an MD PhD in the department. I run a lab, but I also see patients. And then maybe I'll turn it over to Dr. Agu to introduce herself. And then Dr. Agu, maybe you can talk about research opportunities in the department, and then anything that you leave out or want me to fill in, I can fill in at the end. So maybe I'll turn it over to Dr. Agu.
Yeah, hi guys. I'm Dr. Crystal Agu. Like Dr. Garza said, I'm the director of the Ethnic Skin Program here. I do mostly clinical and translational research, mostly looking into alopecia, and most specifically a form of alopecia called CCCA, which affects Black women almost exclusively. I always like to say when I'm on this panel that I was someone who, when I finished medical school, I very much was like, oh my God, I want to do the minimal amount of research to match into dermatology, and then I never want to do research again. And it's really because I wasn't exposed to a lot of different research methods. And when I came here, there was a very kind of welcoming atmosphere present in our department where you are kind of encouraged, but you never feel obligated to pursue research. So I started to just look into research out of interest, and had amazing mentors, including Dr. Garza. And, you know, by the time I finished my residency, felt a little bit more strongly about doing research, and then have just been so supported by our chairman and other faculties, and have been very fortunate to be awarded a handful of grants and awards that have allowed me to continue to pursue that research. And so I think this is an excellent place for people who know they love research, and for people who aren't quite so sure. I mean, we have so many opportunities for every different research interest. And I love that I came here And even though there wasn't anyone doing hair loss, research into CCCA or hairstyling patterns and things like that, that I was really encouraged to pursue those type of research avenues and kind of create my own lane. So I really have nothing but good experiences to say there.
Great, thanks, Dr. Agu. So yeah, just to kind of round out there's a lot of opportunities for residents to be involved in research. Obviously, Hopkins is a fantastic place for research. We were the nation's first teaching hospital, and that kind of legacy lives on in every department. And so for residents, like you're given a half day of research if you're interested in your second and third year to pursue mostly clinical research, because that's what's easiest kind of for folks to do. So Dr. Kong, our chairman, created a network that we call the CTREP, which is like a clinical trial kind of core that allows you to kind of get immediately plugged into ongoing trials, learn about IRBs, learn about patient recruitment. You're encouraged to kind of think about your own research questions, but then in addition, plug into existing ones. The department has a lot of interest very broadly, from acne to cancer to autoimmune diseases to melanoma to developmental biology to cell therapy. So there's a lot of potential ways for you guys to get involved. One other really exciting thing is the department recently was awarded a very prestigious T32 grant from the NIH, which means that we can offer folks a 2+2 track. So if there's people who have a really especially large interest in research for such they want to make it in their career and they already know that, they can spend 2 years in the doing normal residency and then 2 years kind of immediately transitioning to a postdoc. So there's a lot of opportunities for research. We're happy to answer any of your questions. And it's just one of the many jewels here at our residency program. So Dr. Grossberg, you might be muted.
Thank you. Sorry, first Zoom faux pas of the night. Thank you for those excellent overviews. We're gonna shift to the next slide. I think there were some questions that came up. Yep, these were the ones that were submitted, and if others have questions, please go ahead and submit. Dr. Garza, between you and Dr. Agu, if you guys wanna kind of field the questions on the screen.
Sure, I could take a first stab and then Dr. Agu can expand on them. So what types of research projects? It's really amazing how varied they are. Like some residents have done, like I remember many years ago, one resident just did like an NHANES data analysis. So it was completely all in silico with like these really cool published data sets that this person mined to like come up with exciting hypothesis and data, to ones that are very kind of patient-based with like gathering data on patients, putting them together, publishing them, to, stuff from like questionnaires to even all the way to like patient biopsies where there's like assays done. So the range is really limited by your imagination, really. I mean, there's a lot of, it's easier to plug into an existing project, but also I think we're all very receptive to hear residents' ideas. The mentorship structure, there's usually every resident is assigned a mentor for their entire residency. So there's already kind of some built-in formal membership, like a mentorship kind of at a general level. And a research-wise, like if you plug into an existing project, then you'll immediately have a mentor, because basically every year, Dr. Anna Chen kind of circulates a list where faculty kind of list different projects. And then if you're interested in one, you're automatically plugged in for a mentor. If you want to declare your interest in the research track, basically the way to do that, if there's a 2+2, and it's usually a different match number, so you can include either or both the traditional 2+2 or the traditional track, or both on your rank list. So you can declare your interest at any time. But I think even if somebody had an evolving interest, we would definitely encourage that. So I think it's very flexible. Dr. Agu, did you want to add anything to those?
Yeah, I mean, the only thing I'll say is, especially for people who are thinking more clinical research, that entire first year of residency, really, there are no research expectations. The expectation is that you kind of learn as much dermatology as possible. I think later on in the talk, we're going to talk about some of the specialty clinics. But what I've had happen is, people maybe spend time in my alopecia clinic, and at the end of their first year, that's when people are asked, would you like to pursue this additional half day of protected research time? you can certainly opt out and say, you know what, I want to take on an extra clinic. But for those residents who decide that they want to pursue that suture half day, a lot of times I find that residents come and approach us as faculty members with their own ideas. So someone may approach me with an idea in hair loss, like Deepa, one of our residents who's on the panel today, mentioned, and we just kind of toss ideas back and forth, and then we go on with our own research project together. And so the nice thing about our department in this atmosphere, it's very collegial. A lot of us refer to each other on a first name basis. And so there's no kind of pressure to already have the equivalent of a K award type project in your head before you approach someone. You can just kind of talk very freely. And so I think that it's very flexible as far as like an official declaration, especially for those who are not necessarily interested in the 2+2. And it just tends to evolve over time.
Great, thank you both. Right, so it doesn't look like we have any additional questions added. So we will move on, thank you.
Yeah, thanks guys.
All right, so next up is the section on kind of the details or overview of the program. So I'm gonna hand off to our residents now to take over the next few portions of our program.
Thank you. Hi everybody, I'm Darren Simkin. I'm one of the senior residents, one of the chiefs. So excited to have you all. This is a picture of our beautiful Path Suite. Look how enthusiastic everyone looks at 7 in the morning. Look at that.
Pre-COVID.
Oh, it's pre-COVID, yes, very much pre-COVID. Let's talk a little bit about the program structure. There's a lot of information online, so I didn't want to get too much into the details, but just in general, our size, we're 22 residents currently, 7 in the first year and second year class, and then 8 in the third year class. We're sort of primarily, I'd say a plurality or a majority of our time is at the Johns Hopkins Outpatient Center, which is right next to the Johns Hopkins Hospital, as is the Harriet Lane Pediatric Clinic. But we also spend time at the Bayview Medical Center, Green Springs Station, Howard County, and then Sibley Hospital, which is in DC, is part of our network, but residents do not rotate there. We do occasionally have telemedicine clinics with the attendings there, so we get some exposure to them and how they practice. The city clinics, the Johns Hopkins Outpatient Center, the Harriet Lane Pediatric Clinic, and Bayview are all more downtown Baltimore, and so we get more of a downtown Baltimore population, whereas Green Springs Station and Howard County are more suburban, which is, I think, a really nice, that they complement each other really well. Most of the clinics, although not all, most of the clinics at the satellites are sort of, generally speaking, more general dermatology. We tend to have more specialty clinics at the Johns Hopkins Outpatient Center, although that's not a rule. Yeah, so why don't we move on to the next slide. So here are some of the specialty clinics. We have a lot of them, and it ends up being fantastic exposure for us residents. We have a couple transplant clinics. We have cutaneous lymphoma clinics with a few of our attendings. We have immunobullous disease, and then melanoma clinic, and Dr. Quatra is sort of leading the way with research into itch, and so he has a rapidly developing patient panel there. We, as you'll have heard already from Dr. Agu, who has a really interesting alopecia clinic. We have cosmetics, we have surgical exposure, which I'll talk about in a little bit. We have pediatrics with Dr. Grossberg, and vulvar dermatology with Dr. Cassidy. So what we get is, I think, a really nice mix of these specialty clinics where we get the repeated exposure to things we might not see very often in the general dermatology setting, while also having the opportunity to rotate and spend a lot of time in general dermatology settings where we don't know what we're getting when we walk into each room. So now, just very broad strokes, year by year, what is the curriculum like. In the first year, it's primarily clinic. I didn't say entirely clinic because we have regular exposures to surgery, to pathology, but it's not over a long period of time. So say once a week for a month at a time, or every other month, residents will have some surgical exposure or some path exposure, in addition to the path and surgical didactics that all of us are exposed to. In second year, there's a little bit less time devoted exclusively to clinic, and we have dedicated surgery rotations. In second year, you have 2 months of dedicated surgery time, where you see Mohs, wide local excisions. You get to review frozen sections and learn how to read those, and also get some basics. And as you get more experience, get more hands-on experience with excisions. And we also get our first month of PATH in second year, which is every day we review the slides along with the PATH fellows. We present them to the PATH fellows and to the attendings, and we sort of learn all together. And then we also get our first exposure to consults. 1 or 2 months during the second year, everyone rotates at Johns Hopkins Hospital for a consult month, and then most do at Bayview for a month as well. Bayview is part of Johns Hopkins. It's an academic hospital. It's a little bit smaller, a slightly different patient population, but it still can be a wonderful learning experience. And in the third year, it's a little bit different in that we have 1 month of surgery and 2 months of PATH, which is pretty amazing. We have some consult exposure, and then we also have 1 month of elective time during which folks can do all sorts of things, ranging from international electives. I know there were some questions about that. A little bit different in this day and age, but hopefully this day and age will pass, and that will become an option again. People also, if they're interested in fellowship, often take that time to rotate through programs that they're interested in applying to, or are just interested in. People can also spend time rotating in private practices to get some exposure that they may not have gotten as much during the bulk of the residency experience. So I think that's pretty much all I had to say, but it's really been a wonderful, wonderful experience. Oh, continuity clinics. Thanks, Mel. Everyone has a continuity clinic that they do weekly. It's just an opportunity to learn how to be in control of patient care. And of course we have guidance and from our attendings, but it's an opportunity to guide patient care, but also to guide how the types of patients or pathologies that you are really interested in learning more about and in treating. And so lots of residents really tailor their clinics to their specific interests. And that is it.
I'll just add one thing that I really value about continuity clinics is when you're in residency and you see a patient on call or you see a patient on consult month and you want them to follow up with someone in clinic, it can be you. So it's really, really nice when you see someone in the emergency room and then you see them in clinic a week or 2 later to really continue their care. So it's really one of the benefits of sort of having your own clinic in a way with the continuity clinics.
Definitely.
Great. Thank you for that wonderful program overview. Oh, that's a nice picture. What was that from?
Potluck Thanksgiving, I think.
Yeah, this was a resident lunch that Buddy crashed. After he crashed it, I was like, what a great idea.
All right, we're gonna move on now to our first year resident panel. So we are fortunate tonight to have 2 new first years. And so I'm gonna introduce, I don't know in what order you guys are going to talk, but I've got Claire Goggins and Rachel Marchallett.
All right, hey everybody, my name's Claire. It's really nice to meet you all. So Rachel and I are just gonna talk a little bit about kind of life as a first year and what to expect. So first I wanna talk about the buddy system because this is something I found really helpful when I was starting out. So essentially every PGY2 is paired with a PGY3. And basically about a month before you start, you'll have a FaceTime or a Zoom call. And that's really helpful just to get to know them, but also kind of what to expect for next year, ask any questions that you might have, and just kind of get some advice before you start. So that's definitely really helpful. And then it's someone you can reach out to, all the time during the first year, in addition to all of the other residents and the chiefs. So I think it's really great that we have this system in place for all of the new residents. And then the second point I wanted to talk about was didactics. So right now they're via Zoom every morning before clinic for 1 hour. Aside from Wednesdays, we have it for about 2 hours on those days. And what's great is it's a mix of both attendings and resident-led lectures. So you get to kind of learn from your peers, but also from the wonderful attendings that we have here. The thing that's really nice also is as first years, you don't start giving lectures right away, which I think is nice to just ease into things, kind of see how things are going before you start giving, lectures on your own. And the other thing that's really nice, now that we have kind of lectures every morning before clinic, we get 2 afternoons of self-study time per week. And that's a great time to obviously catch up on your studying and also address in baskets and, messages from patients, etc. And then I think Rachel's going to take over this next portion.
Thanks, Claire. And hi, everyone. I'm Rachel. So I'm just going to talk a little bit about what our monthly schedule looks like. So like Claire mentioned, we have didactics every day from 7 to 8. On Wednesdays, we have it from 7 to 9, and then our clinics start after that. And currently we have a weekly schedule, so I just pasted mine there. And so that'll generally repeat itself for the month, except for a few exceptions, which you can see. And we work with many different attendings during the week. So you can see in that schedule during my first month, I saw Mohs on Monday. I was in a scalp and hair disorder specialty clinic with Dr. Agu on Tuesday. My continuity clinic was on Wednesday, which Powell and Darren had kind of talked about. And that's where you have more autonomy and you can kind of tailor the clinic to how you want it. I had tele visits for a cutaneous lymphoma clinic on Thursday and then an immunobolus clinic on Friday. And so for now, we have a couple of tele visits sprinkled in per week, which is definitely a different way of doing dermatology. But, the current age necessitates it, and it gives you access to a much wider range of patients than you would see otherwise. And this is kind of our new normal. So one of the other things about our schedule is that we're currently working one-on-one with an attending, which can definitely sound intimidating, but it's been really wonderful. I've gotten to know the attendings that I work with, and they get to know you very well. They're always taking time to teach you in between patients, or they help you see patients if your clinic is very slammed. And just to echo what Dr. Agu said, the clinic and the department feels very collegial. Like, I am never nervous about asking a question or saying when I don't know something, and everyone's really friendly. And just in terms of working one-on-one with an attending, I think this is really the best way to learn, because you're getting instant feedback from your attending on everything from the patient interaction to the note. And that's just like a really incredible way to learn. So it's been really great to be here.
All right. Thank you, Claire and Rachel. Now we're moving on to a little bit about life in Baltimore. And I believe we have Andrew Rogers. Is it Andrew who's presenting this?
Actually, I'm going to be
Alex?
Alex.
Oh, okay. Hey, Alex.
Hey.
Alex Fisher. Everybody.
Hey, guys. I'm Alex Fisher. I'm one of the PGY4s. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about Baltimore. There's the class that's our now graduating class on the left, and then you're just under us on the right. So I've actually been living in Baltimore for 9 years now. Just think that's kind of crazy. So I think I kind of have a little bit of experience about what it's like living in Baltimore, and can kind of let you guys know some of the secret spots that I've kind of come across. So yeah, I did med school here for 4 years. I did my Master of Public Health and then intern year also, and now in my 3rd year of Dermatology Residency. So Baltimore is also known as Charm City, and as you'll see, there's a lot of charm to it. So it's actually the 30th largest city in the United States. The Star Spangled Banner was actually written in Baltimore at Fort McHenry in 1814. So there's kind of a historic aspect to Baltimore as well. That's kind of cool. It's a major architectural and artistic hub in the 20th century. And the largest employers in Baltimore are Johns Hopkins Hospital and Johns Hopkins University. So there's a lot of people who are in the medical community here. So I would say that this is a very true statement. Baltimore is a city of neighborhoods, and each neighborhood kind of has its own flair and flavor. So we'll kind of go through some of the neighborhoods now. So this first neighborhood, Mount Vernon, this is actually the neighborhood that I live in. It's kind of considered the more like historic or cultural district. This is a picture of the original Washington Monument, and you can see there's like churches around it and kind of like those old school, like strongly built concrete buildings that are very reminiscent of what you see in like DC. But I think it's like a really beautiful part of the city, and it's walkable too, which is really nice. The next neighborhood is the Inner Harbor. So this is kind of like the more touristy area that you bring your relatives to if they come into town, but you don't really usually visit unless, I guess, there's something to do there. But on the top left, the aquarium is actually incredible if you get a chance to go. They have this incredible shark exhibit that goes all the way down like multiple floors. And there's like a jellyfish exhibit that I think is really cool, and this indoor kind of terrarium that's jungle, like half jungle above ground and half like aquarium underground. They have other kind of just like chain restaurants that you see in the bottom left, the beautiful harbor, especially it lights up at night on the top right, and then other chain restaurants like Shake Shack there as well. In Federal Hill, so that's kind of like a really nice area that has a lot of good eats. I was actually talking to Dr. Agu about this the other day. There's this person I follow on Instagram, and literally everything he posts looks incredible. I'm like, where is that restaurant? And I feel like they're always in Federal Hill. I just don't spend enough time there. But there's all sorts of other things to do there. There's outdoor volleyball courts. There's a lot of like food trucks that happen there, and like beer gardens and other stuff like that. So it's a really cool neighborhood. It tends to be on the younger side, like 20s to 30s. The next neighborhood is Harbor East. So this is kind of like a more like a newer neighborhood, and it's like very, I guess, on the upscale side. So the Four Seasons is there. You can see the pool on the left. That's like the Four Seasons pool. There's this new restaurant called the Bygone, which is at the top of the Four Seasons in their penthouse. It has beautiful views there. The Liberty is a new apartment complex that just opened up, and they are housing like the new expanded Whole Foods, which is gorgeous. Under Armour is a company, like an athletic brand company that was originally founded by someone who's from Baltimore. So it's all over. You see people wearing Under Armour all over. It's like all my workout gear is Under Armour, and the flagship Under Armour store is actually in Harbor East. And then there's other, restaurants, or other stores that you can go to, like Anthropology. And Fells Point. So actually in between Harbor East and Fells Point, there's a new neighborhood, like the newest neighborhood, Harbor Point. Some of our residents live there. It's actually really beautiful. There's a lot of stuff to do there too. Fells Point, and in the middle, you can see this new hotel called the Pendry. It's absolutely beautiful. That pool on the left-hand side is there, and there's this incredible kind of like walkway indoor garden that there's all sorts of people have like wedding events and stuff there. There's really good gelato and bakery at Patango and the other Patango next door. Seafood is really big in Baltimore because it's on the harbor. So Thames Street Oyster House. I've brought multiple like friends over to Baltimore, and by far their favorite restaurant is Thames Street Oyster House. And then this is just like a beautiful view of Union Wharf, which is a nice apartment complex in Fells Point. But I think you can see this promenade that goes around the Union Wharf complex. It actually extends from like Federal Hill all the way to the Inner Harbor, to Harbor East, Harbor Point, Fells, Canton, and you see people exercising, running through there, walking all the time. It's actually really nice. And Canton, so that's kind of all the way on the east. I would say this is kind of like a more suburban feel, but you're still in Baltimore. So on the left, you see there's like people gathered out pre-COVID also. So like every Thursday they would have these like outdoor concerts, which are really fun to go to. Down below, on the left, there's like a lot of outdoor eateries in Canton and also just in Baltimore in general. I think people really enjoy their rooftop terraces or rooftop decks and also like outdoor seating. So that was kind of like a new like tiki hut place that opened up recently. In the center is Canton Square. So there's a number of kind of restaurants around there. And then again, seafood on top left or top right, and then bottom right, just more kind of apartment complexes around the marina and the promenade that kind of goes through all the neighborhoods on the water. And Hamden. So Hamden is kind of like a little more hipster. On the left top, there's like this really cool thing called Miracle on 33rd Street, I believe. And so every Christmas, there's like a whole row of houses that just go wild with their Christmas lights, and you can tour inside and outside. They all have themes. It's really fun. It's very quirky too in Hamden. So there's this like, I would guess, restaurant with a huge flamingo outside of it. Food market, and in the top and on the top right, there's Bluebird, which is kind of like a speakeasy. So it's just like really cool places. Clavel on the bottom right, which is tacos, and it's like a mezcaleria. So if you want to like sip your mezcal or tequila, that's like the place to go. And then apparently really good ice cream on the bottom center, the Charmery. It's like one of our attendings' absolute favorite ice cream stores, but I honestly like haven't had ice cream in like 3 years, so I wouldn't know. Let's see. What else? So entertainment and activity. So it's a huge cultural hub. Baltimore has multiple museums, including the Walters Art Museum, which is like in my neighborhood right up the street. The Meyerhoff Symphony Hall, which is like huge on classical music, if you like that stuff. Hippodrome Theater, I think Hamilton came like a year ago or so. So there's all sorts of like really big kind of like theater productions and events that come through. The Baltimore Zoo is here, and then sports are actually really, like professional sports are really big in Baltimore, especially the Baltimore Ravens, who like almost won last year or should have won. And then also my first year I was here, the Ravens actually won. It was kind of crazy. And then the O's, so if you're into baseball, Orioles are also popular. And then, so Baltimore is actually kind of like really a great place because it's kind of like centrally located and it's easy to get to other cities on the East Coast corridor if you want to do that. So you can drive to DC in less than an hour, Philly in less than 2 hours, and it takes about 3 hours and maybe some change to get to New York City. And it's actually a hub for Southwest, so it makes traveling really easy to a lot of other parts of the country. And then there's a number of other airports besides BWI that are close by if you need to take kind of like more international flights, which is like Reagan just south of DC and Dulles just west of DC. So I think that's it for me. Happy to entertain any other questions regarding Baltimore living.
That was great. Thank you, Alex.
No problem.
All right, so we're gonna move on to our general Q&A session, and this is when we're gonna kind of go through some of the questions that you all submitted before, when at the time of registration. And again, if you have additional questions, just go ahead and send them through that Q&A. So Paula, can we move on to that first slide? All right, so the first, again, we tried to kind of bundle some of the common questions that were asked. So I might just go ahead and read some out loud and possibly direct them to some of the panelists in addition to answering some myself, if that's okay with you all. So what community outreach initiatives are there? And I kind of wanted to bundle that also with what opportunities are there to get involved in the local community. Dr. Agu, would you want to start off on this topic?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I'll kind of answer a couple of the questions together.
Please, go ahead, yes.
Just to clarify, the Ethnic Skin Program is not a single clinic, but what it is, it's really a research program that strives to increase our understanding of a variety of diseases that disproportionately affect ethnic populations. And part of how we do that is getting exposed to a very diverse patient population. And so certainly in my clinic, you're going to see a lot of patients of all ethnic groups, right? Certainly Black patients, Middle Eastern, Asian, South Asian, many of whom kind of self-select because they see that I'm the Ethnic Skin Program Director and they will come to me. But Baltimore and the surrounding areas, this is a very diverse state. And so you'll see a little bit of that in every clinic, but I always pride myself on how how much our residents know. Like I always joke, like, you know, you will not find a man who knows more about weaves and cornrows than one of the Johns Hopkins male residents, because we learn it all. And so you will come out of this program feeling very comfortable with a variety of skin conditions on a variety of skin types. And I think that is, you know, some of what you see in my clinic, but a lot of what you see in everyone else's clinic here. As far as community outreach initiatives, there are several. I'll mention a couple. I know Dr. Grossberg knows of a couple too. So pre-COVID, our department was very involved with something called the Merit Program. And the Merit Program is for high school students who are particularly interested in the sciences and hope to pursue a profession in healthcare. And they are kind of self-selected. They typically come from one of the kind of technical gifted high schools, one of like 6 or 7 high schools in Baltimore City. And they spend time in our clinic. And so they rotate with us. As a resident, you get to interact with these students. These students, I always find it's very helpful to talk to them about college decisions and how, and your particular journey, and something like that can make a huge difference. As part of the Ethnic Skin Program, every year we have a community event with women with hair loss, and I bring in a stylist from the community, and we talk about just healthy hair practices. And so educating our community about a variety of skin diseases has always been important to us. So those are just a couple. I know Dr. Grossberg had a couple she was going to mention as well.
Dr. Grossberg, you're
Sorry.
yeah.
Okay. Might happen one more time before we finish. I was wondering, Powell, if you wanted to share a little bit about becoming involved with the Shepherd Clinic as well.
Yeah, so our residency here, our department here has partnered with, there's a local clinic here called the Shepherd's Clinic, which takes care of uninsured Baltimore residents in a couple of zip codes in Northeast Baltimore. They primarily provide primary care, but they do partner with other institutions to try and get specialty care like rheumatology and neurology. So prior to COVID, the clinic would essentially assemble, a panel of patients for us, and we would go periodically to see them in the, one evening, every couple of months. And it was a good opportunity for us residents to go and try and give back to community and try and use some of our knowledge to help patients who might not be able to see dermatologists otherwise. So that is one initiative that's ongoing. We're currently switching to telederm with them. In terms of opportunities to get involved with local community, there are also a lot of informal ways to get involved just based on where you live. Like what Alex had talked about, Baltimore is a city of neighborhoods. And they really do need civic-minded individuals to participate. So, I mean, one thing that I did when I was here in Baltimore as a medical student was just to be part of, on the board of our neighborhood association to try and make decisions and talk with community leaders about, issues that we had in our communities and way to reach out to surrounding communities and such. So definitely, if you decide to come to Baltimore, there are a lot of ways you can dive in and help, not just, in the medical field, but also in the greater community.
And can I just add one more point? Because, in this period of kind of increased awareness of social injustice, it's really important, I think, especially for those who are minorities, to feel like you're going to be able to be in a program that's going to support some of these social justice issues. Hopkins has a very complicated history with the Baltimore community. And one of the things that I appreciate about Hopkins now is they are very vocal and are very intentional about liaisoning with the community as a whole. And even last year, or actually not last year, but this past academic year in the spring, with a lot of the Black Lives Matter protests, there were many departments within Hopkins that were organizing groups, including our own, one of our former residents who organized a group of people to participate in the march. And so, this is the institution where the Henrietta Lacks incident occurred. And for people who are unfamiliar with that story, this was a woman several decades ago who had cervical cancer, and her cells were taken without her consent and used to create an immortal cell line called the HeLa line. And so Hopkins does not shy away from that history, but instead intends to right those wrongs. And so I do think that this is a place that you are going to be expected to understand that history as you interact with patients from the area and understand some of the complicated issues that arise, including some distrust in the medical community. But I think that that's one of the things that I have found to be so great about this department, is that ability to be open about that and discuss some of these issues. But I just wanted to add that because I do think that's a pertinent conversation to have, considering the current climate.
Absolutely, thank you. There was a question about global health. I did want to mention that some residents have chosen to use elective time. That's we give a month of it in the last year of training for those that are interested. Some have done international dermatology electives in a few different countries that come to mind. I know both Asia and Africa, and I believe Central America as well. We can move on to the next slide. Thanks, Paul. So how are URMs supported as students, residents, and faculty in your department? What diversity initiatives are there at your program? And what personal and professional characteristics are highly valued? Dr. Agu, as head of our ethnic skin program, would you like to comment first?
Yeah, I mean, I think some of this I probably was skipping ahead because some of the diversity initiatives we kind of tackled a little bit. I think the most important thing for me when I was an applicant applying, a lot of what I needed to see could be seen just by looking around the department and the residents, right? Because people are in places where naturally they feel supported. I think what you will find in our department, when you look at our picture of our residents and you look at the picture of our faculty, we are diverse in every single way possible, whether that's age, race, ethnic background, gender, gender identity. I mean, I really think that we really make it a priority to embrace so many different forms of diversity. And so I know even as a resident here, just seeing other faces similar to mine was very helpful. And I will tell you, our chairman, I've bragged about him on my Twitter page. I mean, he is just truly a champion when it comes to diversity. And those are the types of things that I think make people feel very supported, no matter who you are. So that's kind of my comment on the first two. And then Annie, I don't know if you want to comment on some of the other personal and professional characteristics.
Yeah, I'm happy to do so. I think that our, both faculty and residents have really kind of painted a good picture of our program and kind of what characteristics we're looking for. The words that have come to mind that have already been mentioned tonight are, collegiality, being team-oriented, having a strong work ethic, being empathetic, putting patient care first. These are the type of individuals that, we really want to make a part of our family. Intellectual curiosity would be another thing that comes to mind. We started the night off with a research panel and talked about how we like to foster research. So if there's questions that you have or that you want to answer, in dermatology, this is a great place for you. I think we also mentioned a lot about community service, outreach, improving healthcare disparities, and I think these are a lot of the characteristics, at least that I personally, value. Anybody else want to chime in? Okay, let's move on to the next slide, please. All right, so what does your patient population look like? And I think it kind of shifts gears after that. I'm happy to field this one also. So our patient population, I would say, reflects the very diverse city that we're fortunate enough to live in. And Alex gave us a really nice overview about Baltimore. So it's about 60 or plus % African American, 30% white. We also serve a small but thriving Latino population as well in the area. Anybody else care to add to that?
I'll just also add that in our Howard County site, we actually see a lot of kind of like skin types 3 and 4. Like there's a large Asian and Indian population, which we didn't really used to get to see up just in Baltimore. So in that suburban community, I think it's great because we are exposed to some other kind of like ways that cutaneous manifestations can appear.
Great, thanks.
I would also add that that we have a lot of patients who are uninsured or underinsured, and at the same time, we have patients who make their way through the Hopkins system who are sort of VIP patients or international patients who pay out of pocket. So we get exposed to that sort of diverse range as well.
All right. Would one of the residents want to comment on procedural experience?
I can comment on that. So we have dedicated surgery months, as I think we mentioned before. And then we also have these specific clinics scattered throughout the month that residents can participate in that are resident led surgical clinics. So you have our surgeons there to kind of guide you and obviously supervise kind of the procedure, but it's really up to you to get the patient like draped and consented and draw out how you would do the procedure and things like that. So it gives you a little bit more kind of control and independence with the surgical experience, which is a nice exposure. And then I think we also get a really good exposure with lasers, which is another unique part about this program. I think through our peds derm, they have specific laser clinics, so we get to learn about all of the different lasers as well.
I'm not sure about specific numbers. I've got another year of surgical exposure to go, but I'm just thinking I may end up with something like having done 80 to 100 excisions and repairs, plus having observed many Mohs procedures, flaps, grafts, and so on. And as Deepa just said, we do get a lot of laser exposure too, which is wonderful, and cosmetics too.
Do residents receive specific teledermatology training? Could one of you want to comment on the teledermatology ramp up that we've just experienced?
Sure, I can. We, as I'm sure you all may have heard from other programs as well, or from your own institutions, we've transitioned very quickly into a telederm friendly department, and as we've gotten, I guess, learned how to navigate the pandemic to some degree, we have now reopened many of our in-person clinics. Right now, we're about, I'd say about 2/3 of our, from a resident's perspective, our clinical exposure is in person, but we still have significant telederm activity. And that's the 33% is down from where it was just a few months ago, where it was almost entirely telederm. So I guess in that sense, we've had very extensive teledermatology training. And we've also learned about how best to use it and also helped us identify what its limitations are. Yeah.
What about inpatient consult exposure? Does another resident want to chime in on what your experiences have been, maybe a senior resident also?
I can take that as well. I'm on consults this month, actually, so I'm on Bayview and Peds consult, which is combined currently, and it's a really great experience. It's very busy, but in a good way. You get a lot of kind of independence with taking the consults and kind of thinking through them and coming up with what your plan would be, and then discussing them with the consult attending, and it's pretty busy. So with Bayview, we have a burn unit, so that's where we see a lot of like our SJS patients and a lot of interesting kind of med derm cases. And then we also, I think someone's mentioned this before, but in addition to our Bayview and Pete's consults, we have consults at the main hospital, which I haven't done yet, but I'm sure someone else who has done that can also touch on that.
And maybe you could comment also on that we have 2 hospitalist dermatologists as well.
Yeah, when I was looking at the questions that are submitted, I thought, you know, our 2 consult attendings would be thrilled to see that so many potential applicants are thinking about additional inpatient consult exposure, because both Dr. Rosati and Dr. Jun Kong are very passionate about the inpatient consult service, and they are dedicated. So each of them takes, you know, 2 weeks out of the month, and which is really great for continuity in terms of discussing cases with them, and for other teams to know us as well as consultants. And then in terms of the educational benefits of that, every single month we have an opportunity for the consult residents from the prior month to share interesting cases with us, and the consult attendings join us for that, as well as dermatopathology fellows, to really talk through some of these tough cases where you know, the histopathology and then what we see clinically might not align well, and it's just a really great opportunity for discussion. And they, you know, they're approaching us all the time about new ideas for how we can make the consult service more educational and how the lectures can be more educational. So I think it's just going to continue to improve. So if you are interested in inpatient consult dermatology, I think this would be a great place to come.
There have also been, in terms of opportunities for additional inpatient dermatology exposure, there have been residents in the past who have used their elective time to do additional inpatient dermatology, even if it were at other institutions, to see how things are run at other places.
Thank you. Let's move on to the next slide. Thank you, everyone. Is there an associated VA? Sadly, no, we are not affiliated with the VA. Is the program family friendly? I would say very much so. Paul, what do you think?
Yeah, definitely. I don't know if our program's an anomaly, but we definitely do have a good number of new parents in our residency recently, including myself and a co-resident, and actually one of our chiefs from last year, who's currently a fellow here. There's parental leave for both parents. You know, I ended up taking 2 weeks. I could have taken more if I needed it, but definitely felt very supported by the program here. And a lot of the faculty have kids, and I really I just find myself chatting with a lot of them during clinics, just trying to glean parenting advice and such from them. So it's a really great environment and culture to be a part of.
Thanks. What leadership opportunities are there for you guys?
So, I mean, one that comes to mind, and so every resident here in our program will have a specific job. So there are opportunities to be a leader in that sense. For example, there are residents who run grand rounds for the department throughout the year. There are residents who are liaisons for us to the House Staff Council, which is a body that reports directly to our head of graduate medical education, and sort of keeps us abreast of what's going on in the greater Johns Hopkins health system and how it affects residents. So there are definitely leadership opportunities there. And just, you know, things are changing all the time right now with COVID and how it changes what we need for our program. So there are opportunities all the time for residents to step up and take on new initiatives. You know, we just had a discussion today about how, you know, there's opportunities for residents to take on initiatives with patient safety and quality improvement, for example. So there are always opportunities there for residents to step up and take up leadership opportunities.
Thank you. I'm going to field the next question of what major changes do you foresee in the next 5 years, if that's okay with everyone. So I would say as a department, we're trying to grow our presence in Washington, D.C. Residents don't attend the Sibley site, but just to kind of be aware of what's happening kind of more the Johns Hopkins dermatology departmental level. On the more programmatic level, we are currently working, I think the most exciting thing for the residents is that we're working on a huge remodel of our cosmetic center at Green Spring Station. It's going to be more than doubling in size, and we already offer the full spectrum of laser, toxin, filler experiences, but we just expect that to all be enhanced. The resident surgical experience will also expand. So we recently added Mohs surgery to our Howard County site. Of course, it's already at our home base. We call the Johns Hopkins Outpatient Center, JHOC, our home base site, but we've expanded to the Howard County site, and soon we'll be adding to our Green Spring Station site once that expansion completes. And so these are all going to provide really exciting additional opportunities for residents to refine surgical and procedural skills. Those are the changes that I wanted to highlight, that I think by the time the group that's interviewing comes through will be very much relevant and up and running. Strengths and weaknesses of the program. Feel free, residents, faculty, to chime in. I think we've talked a lot about the camaraderie and collegiality here, which I think is one of our greatest strengths for sure. We've talked a lot about our program's diversity. We've talked about the community that we live in. You will learn dermatology in all skin types, which is so important, and will serve you well regardless of what patient population you see further on in your career. There's, we've talked about our protected research time a little bit, or a lot, which has been, I think, a very valuable asset to our program, and a big attraction to students to join. Anybody else want to chime in?
Sure, I can chime in. Since I didn't go to medical school or do my residency at Hopkins, so I've been able to see some other places and some other programs. And additionally, I think one strength that we haven't mentioned at large is our chair. Dr. Saewon Kong is amazing. He is really supportive. He's approachable. He's a great mentor. So I just wanted to make a little plug for him. And then I agree with, everything else that we've talked about. I think that it's hard to realize how diverse Baltimore and Hopkins and the program is when you're here, but I've been seeing so many things that I was never exposed to. And I'm so impressed with the residents' knowledge in these conditions that aren't as common, but are pretty common here. In terms of weaknesses, we did touch on the fact that there's no VA, and I know that was something that I was really looking for when I was applying to residency programs, but I do think that the residents here get a lot of opportunities for independence with their continuity clinic. And I think they also get a lot of independence in the attending clinics as well, which I think is somewhat unusual. I think that the faculty here are eager to teach, and they don't see the residents in their clinics as just someone who's there shadowing or just writing the notes. They really take into account what the resident thinks about the patient, and like Rachel said, it's really a two-way street when it comes to patient care. It's not just attending patients and continuity clinic patients. Residents do take the lead in most of the patients. So that's one thing to keep in mind. The other thing that some people might be worried about is that we don't have a Mohs fellowship. So we do have a dermatopathology fellowship. We do have a PEDS fellowship, but no Mohs fellowship. And I believe that is coming within the next year or so. So just as a heads up, we should be getting one sometime soon.
Yes, I believe they're going to be ready to recruit their first fellow this season. Correct me if anyone thinks that I'm off by 1 year, but I'm almost positive it's this coming fall. But in either event, it'll be before you guys get to the program for our attendees. Anything else that you guys wanted to mention? Do you guys find like the size of the program to be a strength? I always thought maybe that kind of diffuses the call responsibilities and, keeps you guys, I don't know, able to focus on, keep a good sense of balance. I don't know what, but you guys can mention that perhaps.
Definitely. I think the one thing to think about is, having a large program is great because you have more colleagues, but also in terms of call responsibility, as Dr. Grossberg mentioned, there are just fewer weeks of it. And while it's, great opportunity to learn and see really acute cases, it can be stressful as well early on in residency. So being part of a larger program can help diffuse some of that.
And I just wanted to reiterate, as I was interviewing at programs, it became clear pretty quick that there was only like a handful of programs that really had such a well-rounded educational experience where you get, obviously the bread and butter general dermatology, but like complex medical dermatology on the consult service. You get pediatric, like a really strong pediatric department. You get a strong surgical training. You can get cosmetic exposure. You have all sorts of specialty clinics. And I think Hopkins is a great place that has all these things, and I don't think there are too many programs that really offer such like a strong, well-rounded program. But my biased view.
And just to echo that, yeah, I mean, I think the diversity of patients is amazing, the diversity of clinical experiences. And with all that, I think ultimately the program is just extremely flexible in helping you become the kind of dermatologist that you want to be. I don't feel any pressure to focus on a certain type of dermatology or academic pursuit. I'm just given the support I need to pursue my own interests. And you have such a wide array of clinical and research opportunities here. The world's sort of your oyster, I think, here at Hopkins, and I definitely appreciate that about the program.
Thank you, guys. All right, let's move on to the next one. We're at the hour mark, a little bit past, so I think we're going to wrap up in just a moment. I think this is the last question. Powell, is that right? What might the Zoom interview format this year look like? So I'm going to address this. The truth is we don't know exactly what it's going to look like, but we have a good idea of it. We're going to try our best to make sure that we are able to give you guys a very similar experience to what you might get if you had come to see us in person, meaning that we are going to, make a tour. We're going to have a meet and greet with the residents the night before. Of course, everything will be virtual, and we're going to try to be really thoughtful about how we do that so that you guys can get some meaningful interactions in with our residents. And then, of course, during the actual interviews with the faculty that you'll be meeting on the interview committee. And more to come as far as the length. I know people kind of wonder if it's going to be like the full days and everything. And again, I think it's very much going to mirror what you guys may have heard about from the in-person, but more to come. All right, so I think that wraps up. Does anybody have any panelists have any additional comments? All right. Let's see here. If we can just advance. I just wanted to. Well, first I wanted to highlight this lovely slide of our residents and our excellent photographer who's in attendance tonight. Aren't these all your pictures, Dr. Pern?
Yes, I had a great intern year and had a lot of time to develop a new hobby in photography.
Those look great.
Didn't know days.
And then on the last slide, I included my email address here. A couple of you posted some comments in the chat, and they were just a little bit more specific towards your application or candidacy. So I'm happy to have you guys reach out to me, but just in the interest of time, didn't feel like they were necessarily applicable to the whole audience. So apologies if we didn't get to your question. Please feel free to send them my way, and let us know if you have a special interest in the program. Please feel free to send me an email. And thank you guys so much for spending an hour plus of your time with us tonight. I know that you're all in different time zones, and for those of you on the East Coast like us, I know it's a little bit later than we had hoped to end. So thanks for bearing with us, and thank you so much again to our panelists, and especially the residents that helped organize it. Our two chiefs, Powell and Darren, and Deepa and Natalia, who's not here. So thank you all for participating and for all of your help. All right. Take care, everyone. Have a good night.